Software product development is broken. You have product managers using 5 to 10 different tools, still not getting the job done. You have big companies.
Faith wave, only play for a scrimmage, pay for an image, social media gimmick. Hope he can fix it, nope needs magicians, so we Christians preach beliefs they themselves never reach. Head sever the greatness of a priest, starve peasants in the presence of a feast. Armed deserts in the
Welcome
deserts
to our session on product. This one's really important. And whether you're a pure technology company or you're building something that could leverage technology, almost every business these days has some sort of use of technology into their operations or marketing, actually. And what we're going to talk about is how do we do it? A lot of founders are not technical founders, they are industry experts. They get into a space, they try and build something of impact and value, and we've seen countless times this death loop cycle where products just never truly get built or deployed. They end up taking a lot longer than what we anticipated and spending a lot more money than what's actually necessary to truly build these products. Where we're at right now with the advancement of I don't want to go everything AI, but truthfully, AI is impacting a lot of development velocity and increasing. In 18 months from now, they predict that 80% of all code will be written by AI. And this is not going to be a workshop on AI and using AI and teaching you how to use it, but we need to be aware as CEOs of the resources and how things should be built so that we could then vet our dev resources better if you are not a technical founder. And if you are a technical founder, you should be leveraging all these tools yourself to be able to increase your velocity and build your product. The first set is really the first thing to look at is, do we have the skill set? What is your skill set as a CEO? And as I mentioned, you're setting the vision of your company. You don't need to be a technical founder and be able to actually build product yourself, but you do need to be able to set that vision very clearly and make sure that your team is fully aligned with where we're going with the product. I'll walk through what I've seen successful step by step so that you guys could look at it and see if you could follow or if your operations are currently going in this direction as it is. The first thing, and this part is not fun. I'm going to tell you, I've actually taken this role on every company that I've started. I leave every single night with a migraine. It's a different part of your brain that you tap into, but you need to get step by step out of your head the process in a very chronological linear order so that you can begin to lay it out on paper. How is this going to look? When I built my first tech product, I believe I had 375 slides. It was PowerPoint slides with just shapes and colors and nothing designed. You don't have to worry about that, but you do need to lay out the user journey. You do need to be able to get your mindset into processes. So if you're building a tool from point A to point Z, you need to make sure that you're going from A to B. And then if there's a branch, right? Maybe there's a certain scenario where screen B is going to take you into different places. A lot of times you start getting these flow chart user journeys. I would highly suggest starting with FigJam, documenting and laying out your entire user journey from a high level, and then start going into extreme detail. And when I say user journey, almost every product starts with onboarding, right? Onboarding or sign up. You have to get a customer onto your platform somehow, some way, or a customer into your business somehow, some way. So if everything is going that direction and everything is starting with how do I get my customer on, you have to think of every step of everything that you need and document it down, have a lot of notes, a lot of descriptions, and build out hundreds and hundreds of slides to show an expert like a developer or a product owner or whoever you want to go out and retain exactly what needs to be done. We as CEOs cannot leave that product vision up to another person. It will not work. If you think they understand it, they don't. They're not you. They're not in your industry. They don't understand your industry. They are not going to do it. They're going to butcher your product and you're going to end up as you're seeing things come back from them, you're going to end up wanting to change or think of something new and go in a different direction. Our job is to make sure that you have a clear direction, meet with as many people as you want, interview as many people as you want, get their opinions, get their feedback, but you need to lay out the entire product. And there's a rule. And I will say we have extreme velocity and efficiency with the technology that we're able to build. And it's all because of the steps that we take. And the general rule is the second you ship over to development, you don't make changes. Because if you didn't think of it the first time, unless there's a hole inside the development where they can't get from point A to point B without you filling that hole, it's not important enough for you to build, and you need to move on and move past it. So when you could lay it all out and you have the flow chart of laying it all out, and you could start to lay out high level information that needs to be put on every single screen of what you're building. And I know it's tedious and I know it's a complete pain in the ass, to be like completely honest with you, but it's a necessity for you to be able to keep your development costs as low and as efficient as possible. Once that's done, you go and you hire a UI UX designer. And the need for that is actually starting to shift a little bit, but I would bring in somebody that could work side by side with you, that could take those slides and start turning them into visuals for you. And the goal here of what we're intending to do is actually build out a clickable prototype product through Figma, which is what we prefer, or some other tools that I'll talk to you about that will or are really replacing the need for Figma. But if you could start building out every single screen, every single click, and you could start feeling it and touching it, this is your area to play. You're better off hiring a UI UX designer, paying them, you know, 30, 40, $50 an hour, get them to lay it out for you, spend that time to really build, tweak, make your changes, document your changes. And again, that general rule, the second you go over that line of completion, you don't go back, you don't change anything. And the development team from the first line of code knows exactly what they need to build. They could hire a team, they could be resourceful, they could be efficient. And now you could just hire the right team, preferably outsourced. And we'll get into that as well. So once you lay it all out, once you have the UI designer come in, they're building everything, they're putting it all together. Like I mentioned, it's probably going to be 300 slides laid out in Figma, and you have everything in the look and feel. You can now look at what tools are out there to help us develop the product. Outsource resources are tremendous. You could find offshore developers that are high quality, $50 an hour. You could really build some sort of efficiency. You don't want more than 2 developers typically. More is not better. You want to stay lean, you want to stay tight, you want to bring in this development team with a very clear product and a very clear vision and let them go ahead and run. And you can leverage some other tools right now. We're using Elena, who's our head of product, is using Vercel. She's using uh, Cursor. There's a lot of these AI tools right now where you could gather your documents, gather everything, and start prompting. And prompt engineering is, well, not the AI term prompt engineering, but prompting to develop is becoming more and more effective and more efficient. We build a ton of prototypes with Vercel, and we're moving over to Cursor right now. But I would tell everybody, go get Vercel or Cursor and start playing with it, start testing it out, seeing if you can start building some of these real functional prototypes. You get a lot of great front end. So typically with Vercel, we're building a ton of really good front end. It's actually when Elena, who's the head of product, she's not there to design for any of our teams, but when she's to develop for any of our teams, but when she's there, she's designing, she's building it out through Vercel. We actually have clickable prototypes afterwards, and the dev team currently is saving about 30% of their time because they're able to use what she built already, and we're saving a lot of front end time. So that's really key. That's really important. I would make sure that we're really hammering down your product and your vision first. And I want to stress a lot here, the MVP product, minimal viable product. I cannot put enough emphasis on the word minimal. And a lot of times founders get caught up and carried away of building to perfection and building this big vision that they have, that they want to be able to go out and push this massive product to market, there are very few businesses and very few industries that require large products to be built to go to market instead of building the bare minimum, the necessities, bringing it out to your users, getting users on board, and starting to aggregate your user count and getting feedback from them as well, while you continue to build and enhance your product. So, can't stress enough, MVP, you're going to hear me repeat this over and over again in this conversation. It might get boring, it might get repetitive, but MVP, focus on minimum, build everything out beforehand, and then you could get ready to ship over to your development team, and you're in very good shape. Um, I want to walk through a couple of other things here because launching fast to us is the most important. It's also the most important to preserve and manage your capital and to mitigate your capital exposure when you get into the development side. Development traditionally has been the most expensive part of building a product. And like I mentioned, even companies who are light on development, we have service based companies in here that just need a little bit of CRM building or customization to their workflows. It doesn't matter what industry you are. If you're not pure tech, you are still tech, and tech is still a big part of your business of what you're building. And you need to make sure that you're highly efficient and highly effective and going minimal to be able to get a product out to market because you can't truly test your marketing, which we're going to be talking about in the future, until you have something to sell. And a lot of companies will spend a ton of time building products, spending a lot of money on product. It gets time to market. They don't have the marketing budget behind it to market. And they find out that they're marketing either to the wrong channel, the wrong path. They're not getting adoption. They're missing something, and they're trying to revamp, or pivot their product. And at that point, you've burned so much capital that it's almost too late. And I think from the CEO standpoint, and this session that we're doing is going to be relatively short because we're not going to go into intense depth of how to use Vercel, how to use Cursor. There's the internet out there for you to figure out how to use these products and to go ahead and play with them. It, it's the mindset of what does a CEO need to know when they're building a company, and this whole course is built off of making sure that we are the most high quality CEOs that we could be. So know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Find your dev team. Limit that dev team to two people. You want a solid front end developer and you want a solid back end developer. If you could find full stack, great. But I would go solid front end, solid back end. You have two people working there. Your velocity should be extremely fast and extremely efficient. You're probably running combined maximum $100 an hour for development. Depending on the size of your product, will depend on how much that ends up costing you. But I will certainly say by building it in Figma first, having a clickable prototype, making all your changes up front before it ships over, and drawing that line in the sand of a no touch development. When it crosses that line, they code and you don't go back and change anything, will be a game changer for most of these businesses. Uh, Test away, build another real big value add for building these lean MVP products is it allows you to test the market. It allows you to push the visual of your product out there. You could create a lot of solid marketing material around your product. And if you're truly disruptive and you're truly innovating and you're not a copycat business, which if you're in these cohorts, you're not going to be a copycat business because we're looking at businesses that are not a dime a dozen. We're looking at truly the unique businesses that have a little bit of a moat and defensibility around them. And those companies that are out there that are just getting a ton of venture backed funding and money's flooding into them, and there's a lot of competitive risk, typically aren't going to be going through this cohort, which means your customers will be a lot more receptive from for you to solve one or two of their problems and not all 100 of their problems at once. And you'll start to see how that plays out. You'll start to see I release a feature, I release another feature. So now you're showing them progress. You're giving them confidence in your product. You're taking their feedback. You're able to stay a lot more lean and nimble. And by being lean and nimble, you're now that speedboat instead of that cruise ship. And you could implement little things and little features that your customers are asking for and make them happy. And if they know that you're reliable and they know that when they have an issue, you're there to fix it, and you're there to essentially be their backbone in their business and that centerpiece of their business, that they can rely on you and lean on you for key support, then you got a customer for life. I cannot stress this next item enough. Do not drop everything and run for one customer feedback or two customer informational feedback. I It drives me nuts when I watch founders that know their space. They are the domain expert. They're in the industry. They build a product. They push it out, and they get one customer say, "Oh, you know what you should do? You should look at this." And they all of a sudden are drop everything, run over, trying to build something because a customer told them something was good or something was bad. This is against the grain a little bit here, and I'm probably one of the only ones that are going to push this. You need to filter your customer feedback and not let it dictate your roadmap. A lot of VCs and founders really want the customers to dictate the roadmap. I actually have a completely different approach to this. I actually am looking at it more along the lines of, you are the industry expert. You are the one that knows what the customers want more than they even know what they want. So build the product, make sure the product is good, and filter out what's coming back in so that you're not getting caught in this death loop of answering everybody and building what everybody else wants instead of what your vision is. So if you stay true to the vision, build out the vision, have your roadmaps, have your sprints laid out, and you're really going into that velocity of building fast, effective, efficient tools, you'll get to the end line a lot faster and be able to turn off the noise, because the faster you launch, the more businesses, the more customers you have on your platform, the more feedback you're going to get, the more wish lists are going to come over to you, and you really need to be able to make sure that you're channeling all those in a very effective manner so that you can not run your dev team in circles. So number one risk is running dev teams in circles, not knowing what you're building, not having a complete roadmap and plan before development starts working on it, and losing sight of your own focus and your own vision by trying to accommodate and appease what everybody else thinks and everybody else wants. Build lean, build one feature at a time, get it released, figure out what your true MVP is. When we come to class, the Zoom on whatever the next session is, let's have that documented. Let's talk about what your MVP is. Is it enough or is it not enough? And we could give a lot of good constructive feedback as to, are you building too much or are you building too little, and where do you really need to be? That's it for this. More questions that will come up probably around tools. How do I use Figma? How do I use FigJam? What does wireframing look like? All that type of stuff, like I mentioned in previous courses, like pitch decks. You could find out how to build a pitch deck. You could find out how to build a flow chart. As long as you understand it and you can relay the information over to the dev team, you're in good shape. You're in good hands. Let yourself dictate the vision and the product, and enjoy the journey, because it's a fun one. It's a stressful one, and I don't think you're going to regret it. I think that looking back at that path and that journey, a lot of founders like to push off the product. They have an idea, they try to get involved, and they bring somebody else in to run with it and hope that they get their vision. Embrace it. Like, this is it. This is the beginning stuff. This is the hard stuff. This is what separates founders from CEOs. This is what separates the winners from the losers. And if we have to grind till 4 o'clock in the morning, drawing out ugly squares and triangles on slides to get the point across of what you want this slide to do and what you want the functions to do, it is what it is, right? And we're going to embrace it along the way and embrace our challenges. We'll see you guys next week, later this week, and bring your questions. Let's get ready and let's have a nice, quick, fast, efficient, and effective session. Thank you.